good. It's a triple-double for Bella Earl.
Goes matched up with a speedy guard. Great screen, spin move, layup, he missed it. Williamson fights for the board. His putback is good.
Oh, welcome everybody to another Thursday night of Straight Outta WAC After Hours. I'm your host, Kyle. Daryl, he's in Riverside, California. Glad to see he's back. He wasn't back here last Thursday due to some power issues, but they've got power now, and so we're glad to have him back. And it's been a fun day so far of Western Athletic Conference men's and women's basketball. Started with kind of a thriller in Riverside early on, an early tip because of elementary school day. There at Fowler Event Center. Daryl, you were there, right?
No, I was at home. I'm planning on going to the CBU ACU game Saturday.
There you go. And then, we just finished up a double. Was it double over? It was a single overtime game. It was ready to go to double overtime at College Park Center, but the UTA defense didn't account for Kylan Green going the length of the floor to find Jackson Holcomb for the game-winning lay-in with 0.3 seconds left. So the Wolverines improved to 4-0, while the Mavs dropped to 0-4 in WAC play. Dan Nielsen's Utah Valley women's team got a big win tonight over Sharika Wright's UTA Lady Mavs. So a Wolverine sweep of the Mavericks today. And then it looks like GCU is going to get a sweep of ACU as the GCU women put on a clinic in the second half at Moody Coliseum. I think they scored what? It was like 57 points or something like that. And three players combined for like 40 of that 57 or more than that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You're on the right track.
I can't remember the number. I have to look it up again, but geez, there was three players that went off for like combined 40 points in that win for the GCU women to remain unbeaten in WAC play. It was their 12th or 13th straight win.
14th.
See, I'm a little behind the times, guys. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, it's just crazy. Trinity San Antonio finished with 25. She had 16 points after halftime. Alyssa Durazo Frescas had 12 points after halftime. And Laura Erikstrup had 13 points after halftime. So what is that? 16, 29, 41 points of the 49 points were scored by three players after halftime. 39 of the 49. Gosh, Daryl, my math is awful.
I mean, Julie Goodenough said it in the halftime interview with the ACU sideline reporter. She said a 13-point lead wasn't going to be enough, and the Wildcats were within about 5 minutes of making 13 enough.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. Like,
I think the biggest thing in that
defensive clamps down. They only allowed 22 points after halftime. They outscored ACU 49-22 after halftime.
Yeah. And it was a 16-1 run to close over the last 5 minutes. The biggest thing is GCU was able to get some production a little bit out of their bench, but I mean, it was Hull and Earl carrying the load for ACU. I think they combined for something like 40 of the total.
46 of the total 67 points. Yeah. Crazy thing is for GCU, 4 of the 5 starters played 30 plus minutes in that game. Trinity San Antonio played 37. Alyssa Durazo Frescas played 36. Laura Erikstrup played 34, and Callie Cooper played 32. I mean, that's
going to wear you down over 16 games.
It is, but I mean, in a game like that, when you don't want to lose and you got players that say we're going to do it, I guess you let them go. So I know it's early in the evening. Sorry about that, everybody. We told you we were going to go at 8:45. I didn't realize that this ACU GCU game wasn't going to be over. Well, technically it is over. The Lopes lead 72-46 with 6:32 to go. Looks like ACU is going to fall to 0-3 in WAC play, and GCU is going to get back on the bandwagon in the win column. Shout out to Tarleton, Billy Gillespie's crew. I mean, they put down the clamps on California Baptist tonight, 67-57. It's always a tough place to play in Wisdom Gym. And anybody bashing Wisdom Gym, stop it. Like, there's no reason to. Okay? They have a home court advantage. They made the jump from Division II. Like, leave them alone. It's a home court advantage. It's an atmosphere, right? It doesn't matter if it's a high school gym or not. I mean, we could say the Seattle U plays in a high school gym, right? I mean, they've been at the Division I level for a long time. So, they're getting a new event center. It's their seventh year now in Division I, 6th year in Division I. So, without the transition phase too. So leave it alone. Like, it's a great atmosphere. It helps them win games. Like, that's just the way it is. So, and the thing is, sometimes having a big arena isn't beneficial if you can't fill it, if you can't put people in the seats.
Bigger isn't better.
Not always, yeah. I mean, that's just like the grass isn't always greener sometimes. And UT Arlington lost twice there last year, and they lost again there this year. So there's something about Wisdom Gym. Oh, no, sorry. They lost last year at Wisdom Gym. They lost this year at Wisdom Gym. So there's just something about it. In Utah Valley, in 2023, when they won the WAC regular season title outright, they lost at Wisdom Gym. GCU lost at Wisdom Gym last year. So, I mean, guys, like, I would take that home court advantage if it's going to make my team win games.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's a cozy place to enjoy a ball game, and it's cozy without being small.
I mean, it's like I'm going to be honest, because it's purple and white. It's like my high school gym, and it is a high school gym in that regard. But, like, why? There's no reason to bash on it, because it's still a good atmosphere for college basketball. And like we said, they're getting that event center next year, or I think it's next year. They're really on pace to finish it soon. So, but the Texans play well there. I mean, tonight they put down the clamps on Dom Daniels, former Texan Adam Musa, and the rest of the Lancers in that 10-point win. They basically led start to finish. So it wasn't ever really close. But they're 3-1 in WAC play right now. Their only loss was to Utah Tech on that last second game winner by Beon Riley. So give credit where credit's due for Tarleton right now, 3-1, and but they go to GCU on Saturday. So that'll be very interesting, because GCU is playing at home tonight, and they're playing it. Listen, guys, if you've seen the schedule, let's comment on this, because it is very wacky, right? So let's explain this. GCU gets 2 home games this week. They host both Tarleton and they host ACU tonight and Tarleton on Saturday. CBU goes to Tarleton, and then they have to go to ACU on Saturday, where ACU will fly back to Texas tomorrow to host a CBU team that's already in Abilene, right? And Tarleton has to get on a plane tomorrow and go to GCU. So it's so wacky, because why didn't they just send either CBU and GCU both to Tarleton and ACU this weekend together, or Tarleton and ACU to CBU and GCU? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And you can't say that there were conflicts, because the CBU women hosted Tarleton in the Fowler Event Center, and the Tarleton men were able to play in Wisdom Gym. So there's not conflicts there. So I don't understand it. And anybody that wants to comment on the schedule, like, that makes no sense. 2 of those teams together should have went to either Texas or to the West Coast for 2 games this weekend,
instead of crisscrossing,
Yeah. And giving GCU 2 home games. Like, if you're going to do that, why don't you make them go to Tarleton on Saturday or something? I don't know. I really don't know. And I'm probably going to get a text here if they're watching it, Alan, but the older I get, the more uncomfortable and harder those stupid bleachers get. I get it. I can't say anything to the bleachers, because, well, they give me a pretty nice seat when I come to Tarleton, which I will be there in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks from Saturday. So looking forward to that. But, yeah, that makes sense. But, yeah, Daryl, these schedules are nuts. Like, I don't get it. I really don't.
Yeah, it really. I mean, and then when you think about it on the women's side, and Bill Brock mentioned this when we talked to him over the summer. ACU is at home, and GCU is just going to make that short little trek up to Stephenville, while Tarleton has to fly. What is it, 1,500 miles back home? Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's like the ACU men, right? They had to go to Utah Valley, then they have a week off, then they go to Seattle U, and then they have to turn around and go to GCU, and they're going to have to come back out to the West Coast to play at CBU at some point. It's like, why would you make them travel out to the West Coast 4 different times instead of just sending them one weekend, like maybe last weekend? You send both Tarleton and ACU to Seattle U and to CBU. It's so, and we've talked about this. Why isn't everybody playing everybody at least once before the calendar flips over into February, or at least the second half of WAC play? I don't know. I like I said, I'm probably going to get a text message, from someone at the WAC if they're watching this. Hey, don't bash us, blah, 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 blah. Guys, I can question all I want because it's not your conference schedule is not balanced at all. And when you're playing 16 league games, how hard is it to balance that? I mean, I get there's 9 teams, but I don't know, Daryl. I mean, yeah. Anyways, sorry, I get off on that tangent and I go, but credit to Bill Brock's, Texans. They hung in with CBU, even though CBU was a little depleted. No Grace Schmidt today. No Anaya Tuua. I don't know what's going on with there. I may have to, see what I can find out with those injuries. Hopefully they're not significant. But CBU is 3-0 in WAC play. Defending champs, pulled off. Daryl left. I don't know what happened with Daryl. Not sure why he kicked off. Let's see. Maybe a plowboy. Attendance numbers will be better next year. Lots of people don't go because the bleacher seats. I get it. But you're moving into a new event center, so yeah, you're right. I think attendance will be better. But still, good atmosphere at Tarleton tonight. Credit to the Texans. They got the win. 67-57 over California Baptist. Freddie Hicks was back. He had, I think, when I looked at it, he didn't score a ton, but it was good to see him back on the floor. I think he finished with he finished with 15 points, team high. So must have gotten to the free throw line late. Yeah, 9 of 14 at the free throw line. So good to see Freddie Hicks back. He played 20 minutes tonight. I don't know. CBU is an interesting squad. Dom Daniels had 19. Martell Williams had 16 off the bench, but they really didn't get any other production from anybody else. The Lancers didn't in that 67-57 loss. CBU drops to 1-2. Tarleton improves to 3-1. Tarleton goes to GCU on Saturday, and CBU finishes up that West Texas road trip at ACU on Saturday as well. I'm going to take a 30-second break, see what happened to Daryl, and I will be right back. So I'm back. I don't know what's going on with Daryl. Hopefully it's not another power issue that he left. Oh, there it is. He's back. Internet issues?
Yeah, internet dropout.
Hey, that's a good time. Looking at the scores right now, GCU is up 82-52 over Abilene Christian. I want to give a shout out to Zach Cecil, who didn't think that the Lopes would win by double figures tonight. I told him I thought they would because, well, I've seen Abilene Christian twice now, and there's a revenge factor from last year when ACU beat the Lopes, nearly derailing their outright regular season title hopes. he didn't think they were going to win by double figures. I did. And, well, they're up by 30 right now with 2:58 left to play. So, GCU going to get back in the win column. They'll improve to 2-1 in WAC play. Is that right? Yeah, because they played one game last week. So they will improve to 2-1 in WAC play. Seattle U, Utah Tech going on right now. It was 32. What did I just see? It's 34-28 at halftime at the Red Hawk Center. Seattle U leads over Utah Tech, who is 2-0 in WAC play. Now, mind you, Utah Tech started out 2-0 last year in WAC play, right? But after the 2-0 start, they finished WAC play they didn't make the WAC tournament last year. They finished 7-13 in WAC play, so they went 5-13 after their 2-0 start. So we're going to see if that will be a trend this year after they started 2-0 again with wins over UT Arlington and Tarleton, because they're at Seattle tonight. Then they're flying into Salt Lake tomorrow, busing to Utah Valley to play Saturday afternoon. Utah Valley will be on their way back from Arlington after that 85-83 overtime win. Speaking of the win, I'm going to show you the video clip of Jackson Holcomb's game winner. And I want you to comment, how in the world does the UT Arlington, like the whole team that was on the floor, how do they let Kylan Green, probably the smallest guy on the floor, go the length of the floor and not even put a body in front of him? Watch this. Sorry, there's no audio, guys. That was a game winner. Like, how do you not put a body on Jackson or on Kylan Green? Did you see that, Daryl?
Completely uncontested straight line drive layup. That's the kind of thing that makes coaches pull their hair out, especially in a late game situation.
I wish I had Josh Showers' call on that, because I know he's probably a little bummed that happened. The voice of the Mavs, but I think the ESPN Plus broadcaster said it right. Everybody thought Kylan Green was going to go up for that layup, so you saw the defense sink onto him when he got to the rim, and then he just dished it off to Holcomb for the game winner. Man, what a game. That was intense. That was a fun game. Lance Ware and Carter Welling both fouled out in overtime. Pretty wild ending there.
Kyle at 0-4. How big is the hole for UTA to climb out of if they don't want to start the WAC tournament in St. George?
That's a good question. I still think there's a lot of basketball to be played, but you got to get that win. Like you just got to get over that win. Get over that hump. I think if I remember right, don't they have Saturday off?
Let's see. Saturday is Tarleton GCU, CBU ACU.
Yeah, they don't play until next week. They play Seattle U next week at College Park Center. The men do, and so that means Sharika Wright's women's team goes up to Seattle U next Thursday. So, they get Seattle U at home, then they go to Abilene Christian, then they host Southern Utah and Utah Tech, who they lost to, and then what is that? Today is the 16th. 3 weeks from today, they'll be in Orem to play Utah Valley. So I don't know. Where do they get their win? Like maybe Southern Utah, who they played pretty well. Utah Tech shot the lights out at Burns Arena. So
Lightning can't strike the same team twice, right?
No, I mean it could, but it probably won't. So I don't know. It's about to go final. GCU is up by 30, 86-56. Interesting starting lineup for Bryce Drew tonight. He didn't start Tyon Grant Foster, but Tyon Grant Foster came off the bench and had 13 points. Duke Brennan with a 16-point, 10 rebound, double-double. Ray Harrison had 14 points. Obviously, the backups are in right now. Braden Hubbard led ACU with 13 points. Keon Williams had 8. But again, the guards for Brett Tanner just aren't scoring. Hunter Jack Madden, 0 points tonight. Nazar DeGrew had 7. Okay. Leo Betial had 2. And you know what's funny, Zach Cecil? I hope you're listening, and I hope you do listen to this. I told you that Duke Brennan was going to be able to battle with Duke Brennan or with Leo Betial. I really said that. What did I say here? I said Duke can defend Betial, and he did to the tune of 2 points. So they got to figure out their guards at ACU. Anyways, let's talk about this CBU women's game. They wanted to give it away at the end there.
Oh yeah, and give Tarleton all the credit in the world for making a game of that, even against a shorthanded CBU team missing Grace Schmidt and Anaya Tua. The Texans did exactly what they had to do to give themselves a chance. They just couldn't come up with that one final possession. But I think this shows you how much progress Bill Brock and company have made over the course of the last year. And that defense is going to get a big test on Saturday with GCU and Alyssa Durazo Frescas, Laura Ericstrup, Trinity San Antonio and company.
Yep. Well, it's at Wisdom Gym, so you never know what can happen there. I mean, it's just a home court advantage for it's just a home court advantage for the Texans. So
a couple of shout outs from that CBU game. Cece Legaspi made her first collegiate start in place of Grace Schmidt. Had a double-double, I believe.
very nice.
And then in that Utah Valley UT Arlington win, both Cambry Blackham and Allie Criddle had career nights. And then shout out Emily Isaacson from Utah Tech for joining the 1,000 point club in the Trailblazers. What should be win over Seattle last time I was looking at it.
What was the score there?
It was like a 15-point lead last time I looked.
Let's take a look here at the score right now. They're playing Seattle U. They have Sidearm Sports. I hate Sidearm Sports as the StatCast. I hate it. So any schools that has it, yeah, Utah Tech 80-70 over Seattle U. The Trailblazers get their first WAC win of the season. Emily Isaacson finished with 14 points. Chardonnay Hartley 14 points and 13 assists. Ellie Taylor with a game high, with 18 points.
All in the first half.
Yeah, and then Bree Crittenden had a double-double with 13 points. I feel like we've seen a lot of double-doubles tonight on the women's side.
That's because we have.
Yeah, I feel like we have. Like, it's been very impressive, to be honest with you. So, good win there. Utah Valley women, big win tonight over UT Arlington, and knocked the UT Arlington Lady Mavs from the ranks of the undefeated in the women's side. I think, okay, so they're outside of GCU, and I'm not going to put CBU up there with the Lopes right now because CBU is hurting. They're not healthy. They keep winning somehow. They keep winning. But outside of GCU, who's playing for one of those top 2 seeds in your mind as of right now on the women's side?
I mean, at this point, it's a pretty wide open deck. I mean, I didn't think Utah Valley had it in them to beat UT Arlington and hang nearly a 90 spot on the Lady Mavs. But, I mean, if CBU can keep stringing wins together, and they're going to get a big test on Saturday from a fired-up ACU team that let a 13-point lead get away in Moody.
But ACU has to travel on Friday to Riverside.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. How do you battle that coming off that kind of loss?
That's going to be a very good question. And I think the biggest thing is for ACU, you've got to, goldfish memory. Turn the page. Okay, we let it get away. We can't let it become 2 losses. Otherwise, we lose kind of. If you're getting 2 losses this early, your chances at the top 2 in that path that gives you a bye in the WAC tournament. If you're at 2 or 3 losses at this point in January, your chances of that road in WAC Vegas are dicey at best.
Yeah. So honestly, I think where we're at right now, because Utah Tech beat Seattle U, and Abilene Christian is 1-2, and they have to go to CBU. Utah Tech plays Utah Valley. The Wolverines have to drive down I-15 tomorrow to go to St. George. That'll be an interesting ball game. But I think, to be honest with you, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, I think Seattle U and I think Southern Utah are looking like those two teams that are going to be playing at Burns Arena on March 11th in that playing game, that 8-9 playing game. So
yeah, that's looking more and more reasonable.
Changes over the next week or two. That's kind of where I'm at. I know there's a lot of basketball to play because we still have 13, 14 games left, 13 games now, and 12 for some. But still, it's just one of those things where the way from what we've seen so far, that's kind of the feeling that you get, right? Just because I feel like from Abilene Christian up, I don't think any of those teams are going to be playing in a playing game.
No,
ACU,
no.
Charleston, Utah Valley, Utah Arlington, CBU, or GCU. I think it's kind of a mix between Utah Tech, Seattle U, and Southern Utah, right? And I think it's going to come down to who wins that Utah Tech, Southern Utah game, both of those games, and how Seattle U fares against both Utah Tech and Southern Utah. So, because I feel like those other teams above them are just better right now, and that's no. I'm not speaking badly of those three teams. It's just you can see it, right? You can see that right now.
You can see it on the floor, yeah. And when the year started, I would never have predicted Southern Utah to be in a position where they're fighting to stay out of the play-in round in St. George.
Yeah. Oh, good times. Good times. On the men's side, I think it's I don't know. I mean, it'd be wild to see UT Arlington and ACU play in that 8-9 game. Like, it really would. Like,
but at 0-4, the UT Arlington men would have to not only win. Let's see, I'd think they'd have to get to probably 6-7 wins to stay out of that play-in round.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. Like, I mean, Utah Tech is right in it with Seattle U right now. It's 41-39 with 13:45 to play at Red Hawk Center. How crazy would it be if Saturday it was 4-0 Utah Valley versus 3-0 Utah Tech for first place in the WAC standings?
And in the old Hammer rivalry? Oh, boy. Yeah. That would have to draw a chuckle, right, in Utah media circles.
I don't even know.
Especially because everybody was so...
cover these teams. That's the crazy thing. They don't.
Well, here's the thing. Everybody was so gloom and doom on Utah Tech when the year started, us included, to see, I mean, weren't they picked 9th in the coaches poll?
Yeah, something like that.
And to see them
I started them at 9 in my weekly power rankings before WAC play started, like, because it was just like they haven't done much, right? And then they had the first Saturday off, and then they win both their games last week, and now they're hanging around at Seattle U right now. Maybe I'm just going to turn it on my phone so I can watch it while we're on our stream.
I mean, that's an impressive job by Judkins and company.
Yeah, I got the game going right now. 42. Oh, he banked in a 3. Hakeem Bird. Are you kidding? No, that wasn't. Was it? Yeah, I think it was. Somebody banked in a 3. Holy cow. Might have been I can't remember who it was. But yeah, it's 42-42 now. That's crazy. There's a foul. Anyways, sorry guys. We're watching the Seattle U game that's still going right now as we talk here on Straight Outta WAC After Hours. It's been a crazy day. Started off with a kind of a thriller in Riverside, since it's so hot and heated. There's a fire burning in California, not to play jokes on that, but, hopefully everybody is safe. But it's pretty hot in Fowler Event Center today. Follow that up with an overtime game at College Park Center between Utah Valley and UT Arlington, where Jackson Holcomb got the game winner with about 0.3 seconds left to give Utah Valley 85-83 win. Charlton men won by 10 over CBU to improve to 3-1. GCU put on a clinic in the second half at Moody Coliseum in West Texas, en route to their what was it, 16-point win?
Yeah.
14 points, somewhere in there, to stay undefeated in WAC play and win their 14th game in a row. We just had GCU men go final. They won by 30 over Abilene Christian, 88-58. The Utah Valley women improved to 2-2 in WAC play with an 86-75 win over over previously undefeated UT Arlington.
And that's big for the Utah Valley women. I mean, what did I say at the beginning of the year? If you get a big win, can you follow it up?
Yeah, well, they did that last year, and then they played they didn't play real well down the stretch. Let's just put it that way after that.
And they have the Old Hammer rivalry on Saturday in St. George against a Utah Tech team that will be just as challenging defensively as Sharika Wright's bunch is, but in a different way.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting ball game. I mean, Dan Nielsen's team scored 86 points tonight. I think I told somebody, I can't remember who it was. It was Todd Cruft, the UTA SID, because we were texting. I didn't get to go to that game tonight. I wanted to, but we have an issue with our dryer that we were trying to fix tonight, so didn't get to do that. But I didn't think Utah Valley had it in them to score 86 points.
Yeah, that's what I said.
It was shocker. So give credit to them. They were able to score points and win a game, which I think it's going to be the same thing at Utah Tech on Saturday. They're going to have to score a lot of points.
Yeah, no, you're not going to win that game in the mid 60s. You're going to win that game in the 70s.
Yeah. Maybe
even the 80s.
Oh, you guys, this conference is so whack. It is awesome. I just, it's a shame that it just, there's good basketball here, you guys. And I mean, it's sad what it's become in terms of the diminishing numbers in the conference, and it's going to be diminished even more next year. I do believe Seattle U belongs in the WCC. I really do. They should have been in that conference a long time ago. And, GCU making their choice where they thought they were going to WCC, then they decided to go to the MWC. It's very interesting, and I'm sure that there's going to be more movement here in the next year or two, especially with Tarleton and their what do I want to call it?
Aspirations.
Aspiration to get to FBS football. So it's good basketball, you guys. It's fun. It's entertaining. We love covering it. So send some comments about your team. Send how you feel about your team right now after tonight, after this Thursday night. We'll be back on Saturday too. I'll be at the Utah Valley Utah Tech game on Saturday. So we'll be doing another Strato WAC after our Saturday night. Alan says great basketball. I'll pull up his comment. It is great basketball. I agree. It's so many different styles, Daryl, from night to night. The contrast and how you have to adjust to the differing styles. That's what intrigues me about every game in this league.
Yeah, and there's really no easy win. Whoever wins the regular season titles will have to earn their wins, and that's what I enjoy about it. Is you may go 16-0, but you may have to win a couple of games that are 2 possessions. You may have to fight your way back on the road from a 10-point deficit like GCU had to tonight. You may have to get a defensive stand at home somewhere. But I think that was a big one for GCU because that was, down 13 at the half. They hadn't really significantly been tested since the NAU game right before New Year's. And to see them respond like that in the fourth was, I think, as much credit to them for pulling out of it as ACU just beyond Hull and Earl just did not have the scoring depth to keep up today.
I'm just posting a little tweet here on X. It's always good to post and see if people will join us as well, share their thoughts on their teams. Tuning into the show, Trey Justice just got home from the UTA game. They never got a rhythm. So many fouls and turnovers as usual. Starting to get worried. Okay, I tweeted this out tonight when I was watching that game. When the Mavs play defense without fouling, they're actually really good. They have size, they have quickness, they have athleticism. They are very good, right? But they foul a ton, Daryl. Like, I mean, a ton. They committed 24 fouls. Lance Ware fouled out. Carter Welling fouled out for Utah Valley too. But they couldn't play defense without fouling. They put Utah Valley on the line 31 times tonight. Some of the calls, I will give it to the UT Arlington fans. Some of the calls were a little questionable, a little debatable. And that's coming from a guy that, graduated from Utah Valley. So, yeah, but they got to stop fouling and play defense, right? Play defense without using your hands. Mikey Chavez tuning in on the way home for GCU, like the Lopes tonight, but still not confident. You know what? You got to take a 30-point win whenever you can, right? I mean, and especially when you shot 54% from the field, 50% from three-point land, 8 of 16 from three-point land. I'm interested to see Saturday when you have a team in Tarleton that defends the perimeter better than maybe most teams in the WAC. The big thing is GCU has more length than Tarleton, more size. Well, Tarleton gets after the perimeter, so I'm very interested to see how that game goes on Saturday when the Texans go to GCU. And here's the kicker, too. Another revenge game for GCU on Saturday. Am I right?
Yep, one of their 2 losses last year at Wisdom Gym.
In that West Texas road trip, yep.
On that Texas road trip. It was on the same road trip, too.
Yep.
Kyle, how's that Utah Tech Seattle game going? Are the Trailblazers going to finish it off?
51-45. John Christopoulos just hit a three. It's 51-45 Seattle U with 10 minutes to play. And there's a dunk by Matthew Alexander Moncrief, your WAC player and newcomer of the week this week. That dude is a baller. I'm not going to lie. I told Chris Victor on the WAC After Hours last week. You were there. That dude's a beast. Like, he's a monster.
That's a steal. Getting anybody from that's been in a Power 5 weight room, for that many years. Well, they're going to do some good things.
Yeah, that's a travel. Yeah, he's a big player. Robert, big blowout win for GCU men's tonight. Will be interesting how the game against Tarleton goes. Tarleton State. We need to say Tarleton State. I was told by Dr. Hurley that we need to call them Tarleton State because that's the school. Tarleton is some kind of community. I can't remember what he said, but we need to refer to Tarleton as Tarleton State, not Tarleton anymore. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes against Tarleton State on Saturday at Global Credit Union Arena. Alan, Tarleton now has Freddie Hicks. Yes, it was great to see him back on the floor. He's still getting in shape. So once that catches up with him, he's going to be that dominant player that we know that he can be. If Tarleton State, see, I'm going to say it, Dr. Hurley, Tarleton State can stay out of foul trouble, I think they have a chance Saturday. You always have a chance while you play the game, but there's no hypotheticals here. So, yeah. Jared Florence, UTA blew that game tonight. No shot at end of regulation, just can't happen. Jared, I want to know what the UTA defenders were doing in letting Kylan Green go the length of the floor. That's what I'm still baffled about. How do you do that? You should have been up in his grill, forcing him to not be able to get up the floor like that. I know they don't want to foul there, but you still have to kind of put something in his way instead of letting him go coast to coast, basically, in less than 4 seconds. I mean, that's what's a killer, man. In those kind of situations, it was unreal. No idea how that. Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm going to show it again. Let's show it again, Daryl. Let's go with the Jackson Holcomb game winner here. Just watch. Kylan Green gets the ball inbounds, and he goes the length of the floor before finding Jackson Holcomb for the layup. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, Darius Burford has to step up there instead of just running with him
Step up and help take the charge. If they call the block, so be it.
Take the charge. Just slow it down a little bit, because if you slow it down, that shot never happens. They didn't even slow it down. So Utah Valley with the 85-83 win, they escape their first road test of WAC play. They host Utah Tech on Saturday. Now, it's interesting. Utah Valley is going to start off WAC play with 4 out of their first 5 are at home, right? And then after they host Utah Tech, listen to this. This is their next 3 games after they host Utah Tech on Saturday. Next Thursday, they're at California Baptist in Riverside. So they play California Baptist twice in 12 days. And that game is on ESPNU. So it's a nationally televised game. I'll be there at Fowler Event Center for that ball game. I'm excited about it. Then they go to Seattle on Saturday, the 25th. And then February 1st, they are at Grand Canyon.
Riverside, Seattle, Phoenix over a week and a half.
Yes. So either the Wolverines are going to be 7-0 riding high, or they're going to be possibly 5-3 when they come back from Grand Canyon on February 1st.
That's a fun stretch.
Road stretch, one of those rare 3-game roadies. And then here's the kicker. Utah Valley also has to finish up at Abilene Christian and at Tarleton to end the regular season.
At Tarleton State.
Yeah, at Tarleton State. Sorry, excuse me. At Tarleton State. Oh, brutal. Jared, I tell you what, I was impressed with Utah Valley too. 5 can play for them. Yeah, that was 5 is Tanner Toulson. He had a pretty good game. He had 22 for the Wolverines. Dom Nelson had 25 to lead the Wolverines. 13 of those points came at the free throw line for Dom Nelson. He actually hit like 6 of 6. He hit 2 to tie the game, 2 free throws to tie the game, send it overtime. And then he hit 4 more, went 4 for 4 from the line in overtime. So that really helped the Wolverines. But, guys, we're watching the Seattle U game. I'm trying to hold off until this finishes, but I don't know that I want to sit here for another 45 minutes, to finalize 7 minutes and 46 seconds. So, yeah. Share your thoughts on your team, how everybody's feeling right now. I know UTA Mav fans are probably not the happiest. It's just
Kyle, I think let's go around the room and talk kind of our accolades for the day. I think the freshman of the day has to be Cambry Blackham from Utah Valley on the women's side, or newcomer.
Yeah, 23 points off the bench for Dan Nielsen's crew. God, Daryl, there were 47 fouls called in that game. 2 Utah Valley players fouled out, Ali Criddle and Tessa Cheney. There was a technical on Naya Threet. Man, a lot of fouls in that game.
But I watched the second half of that game. I thought that crew did a pretty solid job of trying to keep that game within reason.
Yeah,
I don't think they ever really lost control of it.
Yeah, Cambry Blackham had 23 points off the bench for Dan Nielsen's crew. My shout out, I think, is going to simply go to Freddie Hicks, since he had 15 points in his return tonight for Tarleton. It's great to see him back on the floor after dealing with foot injury all season. He hasn't played since last March, when he was at Arkansas State. So I think that's my shout out tonight, is Freddie Hicks, for the fact that he got back on the floor. I could also give a shout out to both Tanner Toulson and Dom Nelson, 45 points between the two of them. On the women's side, though, like it's hard to choose that. Trinity San Antonio going for 16 second half points to blow out Abilene Christian by 14. That's pretty impressive. I don't know, Daryl, you make the choice on the women's side, because there's some big numbers.
I mean, that's kind of where I'm going. And then also, I mean, you look at Emma Johansson, a career high 18 points with 7 rebounds, and CBU's win over Tarleton State.
Yeah.
And Jared Olson said in the summer, watch out for her and Legaspi as 2 of his newcomers to watch. And sure enough, they answered the call today on a day where the numbers were short and they needed every single point.
Well, and then you have Chardonnay Hartley from Utah Tech, who had 14 points and 13 assists tonight. And she took the most shots for the Trailblazers. Like, that's crazy.
Which
that
is
she's
an interesting dynamic.
13 assists.
I mean, the first time I saw Chardonnay Hartley play on ESPN Plus was when they played New Mexico State. And I just remember watching her get downhill, and I'm thinking to myself, she's got to be the fastest guard in the WAC.
Yeah. Yep, 100%.
And she's going to cause problems, and sure, she's caused problems all year.
Yeah. Maybe just a shout out to Emily Isaacson, like you already said. She eclipsed the 1,000 point. That's another player. How many players is that now? That's like 4 or 5 in the last 2 weeks.
I'd have to count. Yeah, you're right. I'd have to count it, but
on the women's side, at least.
Yeah.
This game's getting away from Utah Tech right now. Seattle leads 57-49. Should have shot that. There's a nice backdoor cut, but it's going to end up in a turnover. Yes, that's what I thought. Turnover that leads to a dunk on the other end. 59-49 for Seattle U. Utah Tech in danger of falling to 3-1 in WAC play. I was hoping maybe they would pull it off tonight just so you could set up that undefeated game in the Old Hammer rivalry on Saturday in Orem. Yeah, Daryl, it is late. I don't know that we're going to finish. This game's going to be finished before we finish. We've been going for 48 minutes now. I think we're losing content a little bit. And it's just been a good day. Some good ball games, a couple blowouts, a couple sweeps.
Yep.
GCU swept ACU. Utah Valley swept UT Arlington. Seattle U is most likely going to split with Utah Tech. And CBU split with Tarleton. Jared Olson's women's team won again earlier in the day, and the men lost tonight at Tarleton. Daryl, any last thoughts on this Thursday? We'll be back on Saturday again. We're going to start doing some podcast episodes during the week, getting some players and getting some maybe broadcasters and stuff to talk about what they've seen so far. Shout out to Kyle Cruz, our guy at Tarleton State, the voice of the Texans. He and his fiance Kimmy just had their little baby. So he's in the dad life now. So shout out to him. I'll see him in a couple weeks when I go to Tarleton State for a ball game on February 1st. But any last thoughts, Daryl, as we get closing down here?
I mean, another really competitive day on both sides. I think looking at Saturday, I think the game to have your eye on is that CBU ACU game on the women's side. Can the Lancers keep their undefeated, home streak in WAC play alive that dates back to Education Day 2023?
Jared Olson's going to be so mad at you for jinxing that if they lose on Saturday because you brought that up tonight.
And can they continue to win with a shorthanded bench? It seems like this Lancer squad is starting to find their footing. That's 6 out of 8 now. Can they keep it up and make it a clean homestand?
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to the Old Hammer rivalry on Saturday in Orem. Those Utah Tech, Utah Valley games are always entertaining. So I'm looking forward to that. And both teams have to travel. I think depending on when Utah Tech gets out of Seattle tomorrow, they might actually be in Orem before Utah Valley. That's how crazy that is. So we'll see.
Depends on if you take the first flight out in the morning or if you want to sleep in a little bit.
Well, if they take the flight out that I did on Saturday last week or Sunday last week, I got out of there at 5 o'clock in the morning on my flight back from Seattle this week. So there is a 5 o'clock flight. I don't know if they're going to take it, but who knows? So Anyways, everybody, thanks for tuning in tonight. I know it was kind of late. There were still games going on. Hopefully everybody got home safe, but we appreciate all the comments. We appreciate tuning in. We appreciate the support. And we're going to continue to do this over the next 6-7 weeks, headed to WAC Vegas. Next week, Thursday night, we probably won't do it unless I do it pregame before the CBU Utah Valley game. Maybe we'll do that and we'll just preview the Utah Valley game since that's going to be a late tip-off. It's 8 p.m. Pacific time on ESPNU on national television. So we'll see if I can get a line there at Fowler Event Center so we can do it from there. If not, we'll do it Friday night when I'm back. We'll do Straight Out Whack after hours then. And then Saturday, I'm actually going to Cedar City, so we may have to push it to Sunday. Next week, it might be Friday, Sunday for Straight Out Whack after hours just because of travel. So we'll keep you posted on that. But everybody, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And Alan, we appreciate you. Appreciate the interactions. And everybody have a good rest of your night. Congrats to all the winners tonight. I'm just going to throw it out there. The Wolverines are 4-0. I know that's I don't mean to brag or nothing, but the Wolverines are 4-0. People might, get mad at me for bragging on that. But anyways, have a good night, everybody. It's 66-51 Seattle U right now with about 4.5 to go. So that game's got away from Utah Tech. And, we probably won't have a battle of the undefeated. There'll be one undefeated team on Saturday or after tonight as it stands right now. But everybody, enjoy the rest of your Thursday night, and we'll see you on Saturday on another episode of the Straight Outta Whack After Hours show.
Thanks for listening to the Straight Outta Whack podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcasting platforms. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Remember to follow Whack Hoops Nation on all your favorite social media platforms.